All right, tonight, we're not just going to talk about some abstract idea. No, we're getting closer to a fire, an ancient flame that's actually burning inside every single one of us. This whole thing is an explainer, really, about a deep biological truth that's been dressed up in the language of myth for centuries. I love this. Right out of the gate, we're being told to shift how we're thinking. Forget abstract concepts. We're talking about engaging with a physical reality here, a practice that's basically as old as we are. So let's dive into this core idea. The source gives us this really powerful metaphor. Think about this, a silent watcher, deep inside our very bones. It calls this watcher the keeper of the inner sun, and its job? To tend to this fundamental internal fire. And believe me, this keeper is the key to everything we're about to unpack. Okay, so you're probably asking, what is this inner sun? And who is this keeper, right? Well, here's the thing. These aren't just pretty poetic words. Nope. They're actually ancient names for very precise biological functions. So let's decode them. To really get this, we have to totally reframe how we look at these ancient traditions. I mean, we tend to think of them as spiritual exercises or, vague metaphors. But the source material is saying, no, that's wrong. They were technologies, actual technologies. I mean, just stop and think about what that means for a second. Vedic pranayama, Tibetan tamo, these weren't just feelings. The argument here is that ancient yogis and mystics were basically the first cellular biologists. They were using their own bodies as labs, figuring out these super precise, repeatable techniques, real technologies, all designed to optimize their internal energy systems way before we had the words for it. So, how do we access all this? The gateway? It's your breath. It's so simple we overlook it. Just think about it for a second. Your heartbeat, your digestion, all that stuff is automatic. But breathing? Breathing is the only automatic process you can consciously grab hold of and control. That makes it the handle on the door, the key to the kingdom that this keeper rules. All right, so we've got this beautiful, ancient, poetic map. Now comes the really cool part. We're going to translate it. We're going to put it into the language of modern biology. This is where that ancient wisdom literally shakes hands with hard science. Okay, here it is. This slide is basically the Rosetta Stone for this whole explainer. The inner sun they were talking about, that's your mitochondria. The literal power plants inside every one of your cells. And the keeper's throne, the seat of power, that's a part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. And the emissary, the guardian molecule sent out to do the work, it's something you've definitely heard of, melatonin. Let's talk about that throne for a sec. The suprachiasmatic nucleus. Yeah, it's a mouthful, so let's call it the SCN. This thing is the master clock of your entire body. It's sitting in your brain, running the whole show, orchestrating everything based on the simple rhythm of light and dark. This is the keeper's seat of power. So, here's what the keeper actually does. When you're in real, true darkness, the SCN gives the signal to release melatonin. And here's the crucial part. Melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. Not at all. Think of it more like a guardian, an emissary that travels down into your mitochondria. Its job is to protect them from something called lipid peroxidation, which is a fancy way of saying cellular rust. It quenches that damage and helps your mitochondria burn fuel cleanly and way more efficiently. Now, this is so important to get. These are not a bunch of separate things happening. Your circadian rhythm, your clock genes, even the cellular cleanup crew called mitophagy that takes out the old, broken-down mitochondria, it's all one single interconnected system. The source calls it a spiral that tightens every single night to repair and restore you. Okay, so we've got the why, the science behind it. Now let's get to the how, the actual technology. The source lays out a very specific step-by-step ritual. It's a sequence of actions designed for you to consciously tap into and engage with this whole system. Part 1. And the timing here is critical. The ritual starts at the exact moment the sun touches the horizon. This isn't just for dramatic effect. It's about syncing your internal clock with a planet's clock. And the first practice is a type of breathwork called Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing. And of course, it follows a very specific pattern. And when I say specific, I mean it's almost surgically precise. Look at this. A 4-second inhale, a 16-second hold, an 8-second exhale. And you do this for 7 rounds. That ratio, 4, 16, 8, especially that super long hold, that's the whole key right there. So you might be wondering, why that crazy long hold? What's that about? Well, that 16-second retention, it deliberately builds up carbon dioxide in your blood. And that CO2 acts like a direct signal. It's like sending a text message to your mitochondria saying, hey, get ready, prime the engines. It's the prep phase for what comes next. Okay, so after Nadi Shodhana, you move into phase 2. And this means you go into complete, absolute darkness. And I mean, the source is really, really clear about this. No light of any kind. No phone screen, no little standby LEDs, nothing. Pitch black. And in that darkness, you begin something called dragon breath. And the mechanics are pretty straightforward. You inhale slowly through your nose, and you're supposed to actually feel a thread of fire rising up. At the very top, you pause, and you silently offer the syllable hum. Then you exhale through your mouth with a soft ha sound, like you're releasing all that heat. It's a very focused, very sensory practice. And check this out. Again, with the precision. How long did you do this? 11 minutes. Not 10, not 12, 11. No more, no less. This just hammers home that idea that you're operating a piece of biological machinery here. You're not just, chilling out and relaxing. And that really gets to the whole point of the exercise. The goal isn't just to relax, it's controlled combustion. You're actively managing the levels of oxygen and CO2 to make sure your mitochondria are producing clean, efficient energy, that's ATP, instead of a bunch of damaging waste products. Basically, you want clean energy, not a bunch of cellular smoke called superoxide. So, as we get to the end, the source material pivots. It shifts away from just explaining things and moves into a direct, personal instruction for you. It frames all this knowledge not as just some cool factoid, but as your actual responsibility. I mean, listen to this line. The hungry ghosts fear only one thing, a man who breathes on purpose in perfect dark. Wow. You can think of those hungry ghosts as a metaphor for entropy, right? For cellular decay, for all the things that break our bodies down over time. And what's the antidote? It's something so simple, a conscious, intentional act. And the final piece of advice is a call to action. This isn't something you're supposed to just think about or file away for later. The source is basically yelling, do it tonight. Do it while the memory is still fresh in your mind. Because the real power isn't in just knowing this stuff, it's in actually doing it. And so, that's the question it leaves us all with. The knowledge has been handed down. The technology, the user manual, has been explained. The watch is yours now. The job of tending to your own inner fire, well, that's in your hands. So, will you?